you to all of your parents for bringing you here tonight and for being the people behind the children. We love you. You have awesome kids. We are so proud of them, and we are so proud of our Miss Jordan and her accompanying us. And of course, you know you're going to be seeing I Remember Martin Luther King Jr.
We began our journey of knowledge about the civil rights movement by learning about the man himself, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We read the book Martin's Big Words by Doreen Rappaport. Through that book, we learned that segregation was how Dr. King fought against it, and that he fought for all Americans, no matter what color. Sadly, we also learned that Dr. King was killed by someone that did not want him to continue his work.
Next, we read the book Rosa by Nikki Giovanni. In the book, we learned that Rosa Parks helped start the civil rights movement by refusing to give up her seat on the bus to a white man. She was arrested, and to show their support to Mrs. Parks and their unhappiness with the equal treatment they received, Black Americans started a bus boycott. It took over a year, but the bus boycott showed the world that they were serious about equal treatment for all.
Then we read Fly High, the story of Bessie Coleman by Louise Borden and Mary Kay Kruger. The book taught us that individual people have been standing up for equality for years. Bessie Coleman moved from a small town in Texas to Chicago to search for a better life. There she learned about pilots flying in World War I and decided that she wanted to fly. But Bessie had two things to keep her from being a pilot. She was a woman and she was black. Bessie had to go all the way to France to learn to fly, but she did it. She was not only the first Black American to have pilot's license, she was also the first woman.
After Bessie Coleman, we read about another aviator, Ron McNair. It's Ron's Big Mission by Rose Blue and Corey Ann J. Naden. This book was actually about a kid close to our age. When he was a boy, Ron loved to go to the library and read books, but he was not allowed to check them out because he was black. One day he decided enough was enough and stood on top of the librarian's desk until she gave him a library card. Even though the police, the librarian, even his own mother told him to get down, he would not. He won and for the first time checked out books from the library. Ron McNair grew up to be an astronaut and was only the second black person to fly in space. The library where he once could not check out books was now named after him.
The next book we read was We Are the Ship, the story of Negro baseball by Kadir Nelson. We did not read the whole book because it was really long, but read parts instead. We learned that blacks were not allowed to play Major League Baseball with whites, so they formed their own professional baseball league. Things were definitely not equal, and life in the Negro leagues was really hard. The leagues were necessary if blacks wanted to play baseball until 1945, when Jackie Robinson convinced the Brooklyn Dodgers to sign for a season of baseball. Then he was often treated badly by baseball fans and teammates. After he played a season with the Dodgers, the other major league teams began signing up black players, and the Negro Leagues became a thing of history.
The last book we are reading in our journey is called Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges.
It was a true story written by the person that lived it. Ruby was a little black girl that lived in New Orleans and went into a blacks-only school. Even though there was a school closer to her house, it was a whites-only school, so she could not go there. When Ruby was in first grade, the court decided the school should be integrated, and Ruby was the only black child to attend the elementary near her house. She had to be taken to school every day by U.S. Marshals was because people were threatening her and trying to hurt her, just because she was black. For that, the whole school year, Ruby was the only child in her classroom and was still kept separate from the white children in school. We were amazed at how brave Ruby was, as in tried to decide if we could have been as brave as young Ruby.
Through this journey, we learned that it took many brave people to stand up for what was right and change the laws and what people thought about skin color. We decided that we never want things to be like what they were before the civil rights movement, and to make sure it doesn't, we have to treat everyone with respect no matter what their skin color. To honor those brave people, it made it possible for all of us to be here tonight, together tonight. We present to you I Remember Martin Luther King Jr. by Ruth Roberts. We hope you enjoy our presentation.
We are here today to honor a man of peace and nonviolence,
A man who believed in the power of love.
and worked for the freedom and dignity of his people.
The American people. Today we remember the red-bearded Martin Luther King Jr. Sooner or later you're bound to find you must come in at the door. Heaven is high, you can't get under it. Oh, you can't get under it. Oh, you can't get under it. You must come in at the door. If you get there before I do, you must come in at the door. I'm calling to you must come in at the door. Heaven is so high, you can't get over it. Oh, you can't get under it. Oh, high, you can't get around it. You must come in at the door. Do you hear that singing? It's January 15th, 1929.
And there's a whole lot of happiness at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia.
The
The Reverend Michael King and his wife Alberta have just had a fine new baby.
We remember Martin Jr. from the day he was born. But his name wasn't Martin then. It was Michael, Little Mike for short.
And I was Big Mike. That's the name my mother wanted. Father disagreed, though, and before he died in 1933, he begged me to change my name to Martin Luther.
So that's what we did. Daddy became Big Martin Luther.
And at the age of 4,
Michael became Martin Luther King Jr.
We remember Martin Luther King. We used to play stickball across the street every day.
And so our parents said we couldn't play with Martin because he was black.
We didn't know why that made any difference.
He was a kid, just like us.
I remember Martin Luther King when I was a shoe clerk. He used to come into the store. Small boy with his father. They sat in the place reserved for whites. I asked them to move to the back. You know, they just got up and left without buying any shoes at all.
We remember Martin Luther King.
We were his teachers.
At Booker T. Washington High School.
Oh, Mildred, I remember he just loved history books.
Especially about the black Americans who fought for liberty.
He said he'd work one day for our country.
Oh, just like Christus Attucks. And Harriet Tubman.
Don't forget Frederick Douglass.
We knew then what we know now. Martin was a maker of dreams.
And he was bound for glory.
My name is Mahatma Gandhi of India.
And I am Henry David Thoreau, American writer.
Although we never met Martin, he learned about us in his college and university days.
I wrote about civil disobedience as the way to change bad laws.
And I stood for nonviolence to free the people of India from British rule.
We were with Martin in spirit.
On his journey for justice for all people, we shared his dream.
Back that truck up right here. We don't have all day to unload it. Oh, excuse me. Martin King? Sure, I knew him. He was a hard worker. Said he was studying to be a minister one day, but in the summer he unloaded trays and trucks at the Railway Express.
He wanted to know firsthand
About the working conditions of the black and poor Americans.
Well, I can tell you this. It was long hours and low pay and back-breaking work.
Yes, sir.
Maybe he found better things in Boston where he was headed.
My name is Coretta Scott. I met Martin Luther King in Boston where he was finishing his doctorate in theology. I was a music student preparing for a concert career. I was sure my future was to be a singer.
He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got the little bitty babies in his hands. He's got the little bitty babies in his hands. He's got the little bitty babies in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
After our first date, Martin asked me to marry him. He was unlike anyone I ever known. And a year later, June 1953, I became Coretta Scott King. Soon we will go to Martin's first congregation.
Here they come! Here they come!
Welcome, Dr. King. Welcome, Mrs. King. On behalf of all of us at Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, we are so glad you came to be our pastor here in Montgomery, Alabama.
New Reverend looks quite young. He's only 25. Think he'll stay? Stands up straight.
has a good voice.
What's he gonna say? Gonna say?
Gonna say?
Martin Luther King says people must learn to stop hating.
We must love ourselves and our neighbors.
Love God. And love our country.
Yes!
It's getting so I can't wait to get to church on Sundays.
Now what's he gonna say? Gonna say?
Martin Luther King says we have a right as Americans to stand up against injustice.
Yes!
We have a right to become registered voters.
Yes!
We have the right to protest peacefully.
Yes!
It's gang so we can't find a seat in church on Sundays.
Martin Luther King says a black lady named Rosa Parks was arrested today because she wouldn't sit in the back of the bus.
Starting tomorrow, we are not to ride the buses anywhere until we're treated like any other American.
Remember, Dr. King says no violence.
No anger.
No demonstration.
New Civil Rights Act. What? But it's below freezing outside and it's the middle of December.
This is CBS News in Montgomery, Alabama. The bus boycott was started December 5th, 1955. It's now on its 26th day, an unqualified success for Dr. King's new civil rights movement. The bus companies face the New Year's with empty buses as the American people reach out for equality.
NBC News reporting from Montgomery, Alabama. Day 192 of the bus boycott. Many have been arrested. Dr. King's home has been bombed. But the walk for justice is on and the buses are empty.
ABC News, day 381. The Mountain Glory bus boycott is still going on. The people are still walking. The bus companies are nearly out of business. They have been taken to the Supreme Court, and the word is expected soon. On this day of November 13, 1956, the United States Supreme Court rules. The bus segregation laws are unconstitutional and all Americans shall receive equal rights. beginning of a new march for peaceful change in our land, and Martin Luther King was its leader.
Soon people from all over the country marched with Martin.
Black, white, old, young, rich, poor, Jews, and Gentiles.
And a whole lot of things happened in America after that.
Desegregation of lunch counters in restaurants.
Desegregation of hotels and theaters.
Desegregation of schools.
New Civil Rights Act by Congress 1957. New Voting Rights Act signed by Lyndon Johnson 1965. New Legislation for freedom in housing, freedom and jobs. Equality for all.
A sniper's bullet ended the life of Martin Luther King on April 4th, 1968.
And the words he spoke at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. is part of every American's dream.
Oh, you said that wrong.
We do not remember Martin Luther King. We do not remember Martin today because he is dead.
We remember Martin Luther King because him and his dreams are still alive.
And the words he spoke at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. is part of every American's dream.
Oh, hello. How's everybody doing? Good. Can we stand up and give these kids a round of applause, a standing ovation? These are your kids. They're, okay, shh, quiet. They're doing a marvelous job. My part is to come here today and to read a part of this speech. And let's give Ms. Jordan and the accompanist a round of applause. Okay. It is no easy task working with kids, you know, so, and I'm just saying all this because I'm nervous too. She had me actually practicing the whole speech. I didn't know it was just only 2 little paragraphs. So I'm in the car, I'm in the bedroom, getting up and looking in the bathroom mirror, just saying, you know, I have a dream and blah, blah, blah. I thought, oh, Lord, I can't do this. But so with the help of someone real special close to me, let me proceed to do my part here today. So I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama with this vicious racist, with his governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, that one day, right down in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and every mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is the hope. This is the faith that I will go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out the mountains of despair, a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to climb up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning, my country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must be true. So let freedom ring from the hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightenings of the Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the Caucasus slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi and every mountainside. And when this happens, we will let freedom ring when we let it ring from every tenement and every hamlet, from every state and every city. We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestant and Catholic, we will be able to join hands together and sing that word of that old spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. We're all free at last. Let's hear it, kids. Yo! Yes! Thank you.